This is my review on Thor Ragnarok. I give this 10 out of 10. I do have a pros, because specifically Hulk being a total shithead, basically, they rated him as an unlikable total asshole. Bruce Banner is fine. The Bruce Banner part is fine, but when he's Hulk, he's not likable. Actually, it's like they made him into a total asshole, basically. And everything else I liked about the film. Personally, I think Thor: Love and Thunder is a better movie. But I'll get to that some other time. I really like the villain Heller in this also. Although I kind of wish they didn't kill, every member of Asgard acts off so much that I felt more for, like Thor's friend that were his friends in the first two Thor films, they get killed off either for shock value or scenes or for comedic timing, which I found neither one works for me. In fact, I found it a little repetitive. Doing it for comedic value or for shock value, it's just seems a little like waste. And I don't think Taika Waititi did a good job, did a bad job. I don't think he did a good job like he thinks he did. Because the film has its problems, like the ones I looked at, and I do feel like this kind of hurts the film a bit, and a lot of things in the movie feel like they're this in there for shock value or for comedic value. Or, for comedic shock value, or the shock value just for the sake of shock value. And a lot of things are in there for comedic shock value for the sake of it. It's just like some things in here are just in there for the sake of it. Just for the sake of we can do it. So it's not like it serves the story in purpose or anything, or not like it's not like the story we lost without it. So yeah. I would say the whole film feels like that at times. But I will say the movie basically saved by Chris Hemsworth's performance as Thor again, as he always is saving the film. Because I feel like the film would be lost without Chris Hemsworth if he didn't reprise his role as Thor. Because let's face it, once you see every Thor film, they all have the same problem, not really have a clear focus on the narrative or structure. In fact, the structure feels very poor at times, most times. And, it's only Chris Hemsworth that's really giving his all and saving the film from total collapse. From quality. I feel I've been disappointed. So, I feel like that's my problem with the Thor films. I feel like that's my problem with all three of them, the first three Thor films. But yeah. Like, I feel like, yeah, that's my problem with, like, the Thor film, the Thor brand in general. It both lives and dies on... It both basically completely lives in surviving on the quality, not of the story or anything else, outside of Chris Hemsworth's performance as giving an awesome Thor again for the third time in his solo Thor film is basically what the film really does only consistently have going for it. I feel like that's Sex Switch Show. I mean, I feel like, not that the movie doesn't have a vision, it does, but I feel like, Chris Hemsworth knows more what to do with the character than the, director or writer itself know what to do with the character. Like, it's one of those things, you know, when the actor feels like it's like, dramatically is more in control and, more knows what he's doing than the writer or the director who just wants to put stuff in there just to go nuts. But not really any reasons. That's kind of a problem with Taika Waititi, actually, in general. Like, you know, he's not one of those filmmakers that does this for narrow structure. He does it just for, you know, just because he can do what he wants. But not like he has he doesn't seem like he has a vision or anything ever in his life, and he just thinks like he's want to do something just for the fuck of it, and that can be my same problem with that can only go. I feel like that can only go so far until I feel like the audience can get sick of it. Now. And I feel like he might have learned from learned that, and probably he had more. It seemed like he actually had a vision on what to do with Thor and the fourth one, but not for the third one. The third one, it seems like he was more focused on how to just be that guy that fucks around with stuff and blows shit up. Just because he can. And so, one thing is, up until this point, he never seemed to me as a competent filmmaker. He seemed more like a dumbass that got lucky. For Ragnarok, I felt. And that's kind of how he comes across in real life. He doesn't seem like an intelligent or competent person. He's just a guy that gets really lucky and can make fun films, but not because he has any vision, but just because he's very unusually lucky. Sort of like how Marilyn Manson was at his early work. But then after a while, people got so like Marilyn Manson was but then a while people got sick of it and got to realize, okay, it's more cute than different or Crawley. So yeah. Thor Ragnarok also serves sort of like an epilogue towards the the Avenger film, Age of Ultron. This is how it's structured, and throughout the three-act structure, it sort of it serves as an epilogue towards Age of Ultron. You know, sort of how like Spider-Man Far From Home, sort of as an epilogue to Endgame. But it is like nice to see this like more funner side of like Thor. Thor does still feel like Thor. He doesn't feel like a reboot or a rehashed version of Thor. He did what they did with Thor and Banner. Well, he feels like a more of a comedic expanded version of Thor that we saw in the past Thor Avengers movies and also the past Thor films. He feels like an expansion version of this Thor. Like, he feels more like he has more depth, but he also feels like he's more funny than he has been before. And I feel like that's mostly due to Chris Hemsworth's part. And Bruce Banner, as Mark Ruffalo, feels the same way, but I think that might have to do with more with the writing for Mark Ruffalo. Or whatever they did to make Mark Ruffalo's Banner work. I feel like they could make, what's strange, they can make Banner work as Bruce Banner, but they couldn't make like a more comedic take on the Hulk work, because Hulk's too much of a shithead and mean-spirited. I found him. Like, all Hulk wants to do is fight slaves for the sake of fighting slaves, and doesn't want to help his friend at all. He's interested in fighting slaves because he likes fighting slaves and he likes the crowd, and and that's the kind of the problem, and that's all they did was, it seems like that's all they did was building Hulk's character, and after they figured let's call it a day, that's all we need. Yeah, but it just, feels like, you couldn't just put, I'm saying, they could have put, more effort like they did with Banner in this movie. Was Hulk, and that's the problem. Banner's still likable, but Hulk isn't. Banner might be more funny and comedic this time, but he still feels like he still feels like Banner, and he still feels likable. And so does Thor. And luckily, Banner is in the film more often than Hulk is, so I think that was a good call, because if Hulk was in was in the film more often than Banner, I don't know if I could take it. This film anymore. if Hulk was in the film more often, but luckily Hulk is not in the film that much, but Banner's in the film a lot more. This I think is a good thing, but Hulk's such of an asshole, you want him to go away at times. In Ragnarok. So, I was kind of lucky that Banner was really likable. And that he was in the film more often than the Hulk part was. I felt myself lucky, And, I do like how they do finish the giving you closure on the whatever Thor Dark World was building to, but they kind of they don't glance over everything. They give you closure, but because it's I think they kind of glance over what they do. What this movie does kind of glance over, but it also kind of gives you. It mostly gives you closure and and does his best with tying and loose end whatever the Dark World was built into after the cliffhanger of the end of that movie. So but it's it was with Loki and Thor, and them not knowing, Thor not knowing that he took Odin's place. But so yeah, that movie, you do get closure on that, and Thor figures out somehow, once this guy is supposed to start Ragnarok, is told that Odin's not in house, because somehow Thor puts it together, two and two together. Loki's impersonating Odin. his father. So their father. So and so I also like how they do touch on Ragnarok and actually letting it letting it happen, and it kind of makes sense with the brief explanation saying the whole thing's about starting Ragnarok, not preventing Ragnarok. That's explained briefly by Thor. It kind of makes sense if you've been paying enough attention, and I feel like if you are more familiar with the other movies within the MCU, that is specifically Age of Ultron and Thor: The Dark World. I gotta say, I don't think Taika Waititi this doesn't feel like it's much of a standalone Thor film as Taika does, and this doesn't feel like it's much of a standalone film as Taika Waititi thinks it is. Like, it feels more connected than I'm sure how he visioned it. But it feels very connected to the other Thor films and the other past Avengers events that he was in with Thor was. So, I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think that's actually a really good thing that didn't go Taika Waititi didn't get his way, because chances are it would probably be crap if he got his way, and total nonsense, probably. I'm not calling it, I'm just saying that's my guess. If Taika Waititi fully got his way. So, I don't know how much control he had over this project, but I'm guessing he didn't have as much control as he likes to think he had. That's his guess, though. That's more like guess. And he does seem like he thinks it is incredibly not connected to any MCU past events, and thinks it works best as his own thing. But if you watch the past MCU, it works better if you watch the past MCU movies. It seems like it connects perfectly fine majority of the time. Outside of Hulk being a total shithead, this movie connects to the MCU perfectly fine, I felt. And if you watch the past MCU before this point. So, yeah, I don't know why Taika Waititi says that, but maybe he just wants people to forget the other Thor films and the other MCU movies to favor his movie and make it more successful. But if that did happen, then probably Pinot would want to see this movie. Besides how good I think this movie is. I can tell you what, he doesn't seem to realize the people that saw it because of the Marvel and the Thor brand that's by Marvel, not because they're not seeing it because it's a Taika Waititi movie. They're seeing it because it's a fucking Marvel movie, a fucking comic movie, and they know it's a comic movie, and where the brand is from. They're not really give as much of a fuck if the fact that it's Taika Waititi's brand. The fact that it's like Taika Waititi movie doesn't really prove anything, because I'm pretty sure nobody, probably those who don't know Taika Waititi, probably didn't know that this was his movie. So I'm just saying, I'm pretty sure this movie got more success because of the Marvel brand, not because of Taika Waititi, okay? I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't know who Taika Waititi was before this movie. I just like, and I don't think so I only saw this because of it was a Marvel and it has Thor and Hulk, and that's the one reason that was good enough reason for me to see it. Okay, when it was being advertised, so. And I really love this movie. I say, definitely worth a watch. At least the IMAX enhanced version that's exclusively on Disney Plus, but you can see all the color and see in the original aspect ratio. And the color looks phenomenal because of it's in the aspect ratio, the IMAX aspect ratio. And because if you see the other version that was released more worldwide, it looks like absolute, like garbage. Like literal garbage. The color can look like if you see outside the IMAX one aspect that's in the IMAX aspect ratio that's exclusively streamed on Disney Plus. If you see any other versions outside of that one, you're probably not going to enjoy the film because I didn't enjoy the film until I saw the IMAX aspect ratio in the IMAX aspect ratio one. This also goes by the name IMAX Enhanced on Disney Plus. So yeah, that's just me though. I really love this film in the original aspect ratio. So yeah. That's why I'm giving this a 10 out of 10. And subscribe and like this video and follow my YouTube show. And please click on the notification button. That's the big bell on the when you click on the after clicking on subscribe. So yeah, bye.